Today is Thursday, June 22nd, and this is the Post Up. I'm Ryan Sampson, and I'm joined by Brandon London and Dexter Henry, two of the best guys I work with here at the New York Post. And we're going to talk about the top stories going around in sports. Guys, how's it going?
Go ahead, Dexter. You take this one first, man. What's going on?
Well, it's going good. I'm glad to be part of the Post, man. It's good. I've seen you guys doing the first couple episodes. It's really dope. So glad to be part of it. I'm doing well, Ryan. How's everybody else doing?
The Post up.
The Post up. We are all a part of the Post.
We big dogs at work now. We're big dogs. We get the big piece of chicken at work now. You know, we get the big stories.
Listen, this is the fun part of our job where we get to talk a little bit more and open up the discussion about some of the top stories going on. And I'm really honored to be talking to both of you guys and talking about some of these stories. But let's start off with our top story. We had an NBA trade bomb today come down a little bit before we started this record. Chris Paul, even though he went into the trade from Bradley Beal going from Phoenix to Washington Wizards, now Chris Paul is going back to the West Coast, and he's going to be traded to the Golden State Warriors, we find out, for Jordan Poole and a bunch of draft picks. Guys, the NBA punch that was heard around the world might have changed the entire NBA landscape. What are we making of this trade?
Wow. Well, first of all, this is what I take from this trade is, look, the Warriors knew that going forward, Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, they went through all the stuff last year after Draymond Green punched Poole in the face, all that stuff. That was not going to last. Something had to change here, and it was Poole going out. This tells you that I think Draymond Green, who opted out of his deal, will be back. I'm a little surprised at them adding Chris Paul, though. Chris Paul's older. He has not had the best health. As of recently, you can't trust him to really play more than 50 games if you can't get in a year. He still can play, no doubt. But now he's an older guy going into backcourt. I'm not sure what his role is. I'm not really sure how this makes the Warriors better. So it's a very interesting deal to me. I was stunned by this. I didn't see this coming in any way, shape, or form. Brandon, do you?
Well, you like it. I like it for the system that the Warriors already have. I like it for what they have already put in place. It's a dynasty. It's a dynasty. It's like Andre Iguodala coming in. They're putting in another playmaker, another guy who's, I don't want to say he's been to the top of the pinnacle when it comes to being in the playoffs and all, but he has playoff experience. Now, again, you want him healthy, so you're going to have one of your younger guys, your second round draft picks, some of the Gary Payton Juniors and some of those guys. Now they're going to get an extra role because they're going to be swapping out time with him. You're not going to have him play all 82. But when you think about them wanting to play, have that last run for this dynasty of Clay, Steph, Draymond is, like you said, is probably going to come back now and sign that deal. They want to run it back. They want to run it back. And before I throw it to you, Ryan, remember Draymond said something in his podcast when he was like, it wasn't until, because of that punch heard around the world. Yeah. It wasn't until February where he felt like he could be himself, where he could check some things that were going on. And remember, Jordan Poole, walking away from Draymond. Steph had to go and cool him down. We saw the leaks coming out. We saw the cracks in that team last year. You add a Chris Paul to that. Now you're shoring up some of those leaks and getting some of that chemistry back to go for another title run.
Yeah, I don't know. Chris Paul, like everyone thought like the Wizards were going to buy him out and then he was going to end up with the Lakers, right? Like that was what the thought was when he was traded from the Phoenix Suns to the Wizards. I just don't understand this move for the Warriors, if I'm being honest with you, because Chris Paul I've always seen as that ball dominant point guard, and Steph Curry is such a magician with the ball in his hands, and obviously he can score with the best of them. I just don't know if this really takes him over that next step of being another, one of the best teams in the West again. For me, Dex and Brandon, I was confused by the move. I mean, it was a shocker to say the least. I don't know if this was a reaction to, we don't know if we're going to be able to lock up Jordan Poole long-term. You heard Mike Dunleavy say a couple of days ago, he said he wanted to keep Jordan Poole. I don't know why all of a sudden the change, maybe because they didn't see the Chris Paul trade happening. It's very curious to see how this all played out. I don't know if you guys have anything more, but I just don't know why you make this move for Chris Paul if you're the Warriors.
I'm with you on this here, Ryan. I'm a little shocked at it, right? I understand what Brandon is saying about what he provides and the stability that he does. Chris Paul can still play. I want to be very clear about that. The man can still hoop, right? He's not what he used to be. We saw this 2 seasons ago in the playoffs when he was exposed a bit by New Orleans, the way he was getting his pocket picked by Grand Theft Alvarado. I think that Jordan Poole, they locked him up to an extension. They gave him the money. This is now a player the Wizards can use for their long-term rebuilds, who's young, streaky, turns the ball over a lot, sure, all of that. But I think this doesn't address, does this make them better than Denver? The answer to me is no. Are they better than Memphis if they come back with Ja and Ja's not waving guns anymore?
And Marcus Smart.
And Marcus Smart now, right? I'm going to say no there too. I don't think they're better than the Suns, and I don't even know what the Suns' depth is going to be. You got a guy in Chris Paul who can play, who can manage a team. You talked about playing with another ball-dominant guard. The one thing I will say to that, we saw Chris Paul do this with James Harden when he played with the Rockets, right? He played with another ball-dominant guard, and he played fine off the ball. So we know there's precedent, to this working. I'm just not sure if this makes the Warriors any much better. Right?
Man, it makes it more exciting. Man, you gotta think
conventional.
You gotta think conventional, right?
He's a ball dominant guard. It's Steph Curry, man. He's bang bang, shoot your lights out. So you take the ball out of his hands and you have him run off screens. One thing about his game, he's going to make you tired. If you're gonna guard this guy, so if you do have a Memphis that's gonna, now you got Marcus Smart guarding Chris Paul. Now you got Yosemite Sam having to run all around the court to guard Steph Curry now. So you run it, Klay Thompson, bang a spot up shooter. So now you got that guy, a facilitator.
And who's Chris Paul guarding? Who is Chris Paul guarding?
He could guard Marcus
Smart.
Yeah.
See?
He could guard Marcus Smart. But I think it's brilliant. I think it's a great move.
Chris Paul's just happy he doesn't have to guard Steph Curry anymore right now, probably.
I'm sure he is.
Think of the State Farm commercial though. You got both of the dudes in State Farm commercials. Who's going to get that national TV ad now?
Hey, at least Chris gets to go back to the West Coast. He's back in California, right? Guys, let's move over to our next topic. Kadarius Toney. Video went viral yesterday as he was putting on his Super Bowl ring with the Kansas City Chiefs that he won this past year. And he said this was to all of New York. Clearly flipping the bird to all Giants fans, the Giants organization. A lot of Giants fans took to social media and took it that way, and you should, obviously. Kadarius Toney, it was not a great run for him in New York. He never took to Brian Daboll's system in New York, and they ended up trading him as an asset. And hey, credit to him. He had a big punt return in the game in the Super Bowl. He helped them win. Why is there still some bad blood here, though? I don't understand for Kadarius Toney. You went into a great situation in Kansas City to be with Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, who knew how to use your abilities. So why is there still some bad blood here, Brandon?
Because the Giants fans was trolling, and now that's his big bump you back to him. And I know a bunch of the Giants fans that was been trolling him. I know some Giants fans, and I'm not going to call y'all out. Some my boys from the J18 tailgate. I know he screenshotted and showed me the Kadarius Toney, a young joker, has blocked you. But look, it was one of those things. It's good TV, man. It's good. If I'm a Giants fan, if I'm a Giants fan, I'm upset because it's another what if moment in Giants football. Like, you think about the players that have been drafted or some of the players that they've had on this team that it's like, yo, what if this didn't happen? What if Hakeem Nicks' lower body held up? What if the Plax incident didn't happen? They won a Super Bowl that year. What if Kenny Phillips' knee was okay? He would have been one of the all-time great safeties, I feel like, to wear Big Blue. So it's like that guy left this organization, that guy who played in 12 of 24. Wait. I got a stat here. How many games he played out of how many 12 of 24 possible games wearing blue. That ability is the best ability is availability. So Dex, it's another one of those what if moments in Giants football history. But a lot of the fans ask her that.
See, my thing with the fans and Kadarius Toney here is, why do y'all care? Why do you care? Like, if you're Kadarius Toney here, okay? And this is what Ryan was saying and alluding to. You got your Super Bowl ring. You know who's not thinking about you? The New York Giants. They traded you. They got a third-round pick for Kadarius Toney, right? They got a third-round pick from the Chiefs. They traded you. Yeah, you got your ring, and you can move on. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Giants are not thinking about you. I am surprised, and I trust Brandon on this because Brandon is out there with the fans, the Giants fans sometimes. I'm surprised that the Giants fans are thinking about him. But I understand the point Brandon is making. I understand that you have a lot of these what ifs, what if happened to this player and all this other stuff. I just think if nobody wants to be miserable, right? Giants fans, you don't got to be thinking about Kadarius Toney. And Kadarius Toney, you ain't got to be thinking about the Giants because they ain't thinking about you.
Let them off the hook though, Dexter. Don't let the fans. I know I do the stuff with the Giants and all that, but at the same time, I got to side with the player on some of this stuff. They were going at this man, and I get it for rightful reason.
Because he was not playing well.
He
wasn't
playing.
available.
He wasn't available.
And
Wasn't
exactly,
constant injuries.
that's okay. That's what happens in New York when you're not producing. When the juice ain't worth the squeeze, that's what happens. But now when they traded him, it's not like they traded Odell to Baker Mayfield. They traded the man to Pat Mahomes. He walked into a situation, and all he had to do was pretty much be available. And he balled out in the Super Bowl game. So it wasn't like he ain't do nothing for a Super Bowl ring. You know, he still had the biggest play of the game with that punt return. But when it comes to this is round one of the last laugh, because all you gotta do is hurt a hamstring next year. Giants fans gonna have him again. You know what I mean?
But he still got that ring though. He still got that ring.
I just think there's some resentment there, obviously, on Kadarius Toney's part as a first-round pick. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon. That was Dave Gettleman's last first-round pick choice, right? So I mean,
yeah.
And it was a questionable pick at the time. I think a lot of people were like, "Why are you taking what seemed like it's not a number one wide receiver? He's a gadget type player, you know." And you saw him. He wasn't a number one. He wasn't a true number one. He's explosive as heck. He was, when he got the ball in his hands, he made some magic happen. But the problem that Dexter alluded to is availability. He wasn't on the field, and fans are frustrated with that. And I think that was just that last remnant of the Dave Gettleman era, which I think a lot of Giants fans would like to forget about, even though it netted them Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, Andrew Thomas, 3 cornerstone players for your offense. Hey, what do I know? All right, guys, let's go to our next topic here. Leaked audio of the New York Knicks, Obi Toppin, another first-round pick. Let's talk about that. Audio after the playoff game in Miami between him and Coach Thibs, and there were some choice words. Supposedly there might have been even a physical altercation between the two. Teammates had to separate them. That was what the rumors are. And, you know, this is troubling. Another first-round pick for this Knicks organization that doesn't seem to be working out. And now you're starting to hear rumors that they might even be trading him. I got to throw it to Dex here real quick. When you heard the audio and saw this story and you saw the role of Obi Toppin playing in the first game against Miami in that round, and then his role decreased when Julius Randle returned, what'd you think about this, man?
So when I heard the audio, I wasn't surprised because I had heard some things about this. I had heard about there being a locker room dispute following the Game 4 against the Heat. What I had not known was that it involved Coach Thibs. That I was not aware of. Now, and Brandon talked about this because Brandon played professional football. Look, man, blow-ups like this stuff happens all the time. This was not something that I was particularly concerned about at all whatsoever. Obi is mad because he's not playing. He wanted to have more playing time. He's been blocked. It just hasn't been a good situation for him because Julius Randle, first year he was drafted, Julius Randle was an all-NBA player. This past year, Julius Randle again was an all-NBA player. It's really going to be hard for him to get playing time. So I think the Knicks are in a position where they're going to have to move him. Now, what I will also add is I think it's pretty interesting that the leak of this audio, that the news of this came out 2 days before the draft. Why is that? I wonder. I find that very interesting, guys, with the timing. So I think a lot of this, the Knicks are trying to move him. We might see them move him on draft night. I think that is very possible. What can they get for him? I don't know. Not sure about that. Could they recoup another first round pick, probably late or early second round pick? I think that's most likely. And if I think that happens for the Knicks, that's good. Maybe you get another young serviceable player who's cost control, preferably somebody who can spread the floor for you. That would be good. If you're a Knicks fan, do I think you should be tripping about this? Probably not. These things happen more than people realize, these blow-ups with athletes in locker rooms. And you know what happens in families, people have disagreements and they move on. I can't fault Obi for being mad at wanting more playing time. You want your players to have passion. You want
especially when Julius Randle was banged up and he wasn't, he wasn't 100%. You know, the guy wanted, and he played well in the first game and against that series in the Heat, right?
He did.
I mean,
yeah, he did. And Julius Randle, I think that's a good point you bring up too, Ryan, is that Julius Randle was banged up and Julius Randle was not playing well at all. He was not giving effort on defense. A lot of fans were calling him out for that, and rightfully so. And so, yeah, I'm not bothered by this. I'm not tripping over this at all whatsoever. I think it's par for the course, but I do think the timing of it is interesting, and it wouldn't shock me if Obi Toppin is gone by draft night or involved in some other trade where the Knicks look to upgrade their roster. Wouldn't shock me at all, guys.
I love the timing, especially if you're the Knicks front office. Man, if I'm Leon Rose, I'm one of them dudes. I'm like, man, nobody worried about Obi. Like Obi, he's a jag. He's just a guy. I understand he was a lottery pick and he stepped in, did some things, but you never stepped up to that role to where you playing at a superstar level. So game 4 of that game, fellas, because I had to look up at the stats to be like, yo, why are you mad? 2 for 4 from the field, 0 for 2 for 3-point line. Wasn't he in the dunk contest? What you shooting threes for? 6 minutes, 4 points, 1 rebound. So if I'm the Knicks, if I can see if it was Jalen Brunson or RJ getting upset and getting into an argument with Thibs after a game 4 loss, then that's a big story. But right now, this should help Obi. It could be leaked by either side, because now it's like, now let's force my hand. Let me get them to make me get up out of here. But then if you're the Knicks, you're like, oh, for these numbers? Oh, yeah. We can get you up out of here. Let's see what we can get. Let's bring in a player of need. Because, I mean, 6 minutes in a game 4, that means you're not in our plans. You're not in our plans. So it's like, whose man's is this? That's what Thibs was like. Yo, whose man's is this? Like,
and Dex, I think this just points to, again, the troubles of the Knicks front office being able to draft and develop players. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Obi Toppin was the same draft as Tyrese Halliburton, correct? And they chose Obi over Halliburton. That was a point guard you could have taken, a guy you needed in a position of need. When a lot of people view the Obi Toppin trade at draft pick as, this is the similar position that Julius Randle plays. Why are we drafting a kid that, has a lot of talent, but why are you drafting that position? So I think there's been a lot of fans who are frustrated at this front office when there's not a lot of people being held responsible for these draft picks, if we're being real, and they're not coming out and elaborating on why these draft picks are made. And it's another frustration of Knicks fans to say, Obi Toppin, it just goes down another draft pick that we don't develop. And it was a waste of another first-round pick. And it was a valuable first-round pick.
What saves the Knicks in that draft is the fact that they got Quickly at 25, and Quickly has become a very good player, 6th man of the year candidate. That's helped them. Excuse me. They also got the next year Quentin Grimes, who's become a starter. So it's weird because the Knicks have actually found some good value outside of the lottery and developed some good players. But Obi Toppin, who's the lottery pick you mentioned, has not had to be fair, hasn't had the chance to blossom because he's been blocked by Julius Randle. And the Halliburton point was one. I know a lot of Knicks fans are screaming for Halliburton, who's turned into one of the best point guards in the league. I think where you forget about that is the Knicks now have Jalen Brunson, who's one of the best point guards in the league, and they're fine with that. But yeah, look, somebody asked me earlier today, what can the Knicks get out of it? And I still stick to what I said, which is, and I think Brandon makes a good point here too, which is like, when you see the way he's getting played, the minutes he's get because he is blocked by Julius Randle, he's not in their plans. That is the best way you can look at it.
Block, though. You got to stop saying block, though. He's getting outplayed by Julius Randle. Words matter.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, B. Was he going to come in as a rookie and outplay a vet like him? It wasn't likely. You're right. Julius Randle has been a better player. I know a lot of Knicks fans have criticized you. You're right. He's been a better player, and maybe blocking his path to progress is not necessarily the best words there, right? And Julius Randle has played at an all NBA level, except for in the playoffs. We know that. But I think that when you look at it, I think Brandon is right about something in that he is not in the plans. And if he's not in their plans and they're not going to extend him, which I do not think they are. I think their plan is going to be give Emmanuel Quickly an extension first and foremost. Even though you can extend Obi Toppin before the season, then you have to think about what value can you get for him now. And I think the best you can do is probably a late first round or early second round pick. And look, sometimes you got to know when to cut your losses, and that just might be it.
Well, speaking of the NBA draft tonight, obviously draft's going on. Brandon's going to be going over there in a little bit. It's going to be a lot of fun. The number 1 pick, probably the most hyped draft prospect in the history of the NBA. A lot of people have a raw recency bias here and like to forget other people number 1 picks. But Victor Wembanyama, this kid is expected to be a star. So my question to both of you guys, he's going to expect to be drafted number 1 to the San Antonio Spurs. Somehow they lucked into that again with the lottery. This kid, should we expect, and is it fair that he's going to take over the NBA? Honestly.
Take over the NBA.
Take over the NBA. That's
wow.
A 19-year-old who light in the britches.
Listen, Steph Curry's getting older. LeBron's getting older. The old guard is working their way out. And they're young stars. You see the trouble that Ja Morant's going through. Zion's got off the court issues. This kid is coming into that prime position. Jimmy Butler's on his way out. He's coming into that prime position of, as the number one pick, could he be taking over the NBA?
I see what you're saying, but still at 19 being like that, I think we got a couple of years before this kid really puts an impact on the game. You think of Kristaps Porzingis, like you look at like Porzingis, it took him a while to get going. If we're talking about the first overall pick, so I'm not ready to throw superstar. I'm not ready to crown him king just yet. I understand he's going to have his moments, but from the videos and the things that I watched, man. For a big long limb cat like that, man, he's athletic. The boy can hoop. The boy can hoop. And the international players are taking over the NBA, Dexter. So there's no reason. Like at first we used to think foreign guy, we think foreign shooter. You know what? Now these dudes can play everything and they can do everything. And teams are looking to start franchises with the European cats now, a little bit over the American guys. So he could be, but at the same time, I'm like, it's going to take me a couple years for me to be like, oh, yeah, that kid, nice.
So I'm good. Well, I'll put it like this. If he comes in and he starts killing, I'm going to give him respect if he's killing, but I need to see it. Yeah, you got to, right? But I think we do need to pump the brakes. Like, I like the question that Ryan's asking because you do want to say, what can this guy do, right? But I think we need to pump the brakes, and he doesn't need to have so much pressure on him. Although there's immense pressure on Wembanyama right now. First pick in the draft. There's immense pressure. He's supposed to be the generational talent, although I do agree with Ryan on the recency bias. People act like there was no LeBron James, you know what I mean, or Zion Williamson, who we recently saw have a lot about that. He's got his own problems, whole nother thing. But here's what I will say. Do I think Victor Wembanyama is going to come in and have an impact next year on the Spurs and on the league? Yes. Do I think he's going to be running the league? No. You know why? Because there's still Jokic is still out there. Giannis is still out there in his prime. Those dudes are still nasty as hell. So I'm not going to say that. Do I think Wembanyama, with his skill set, based on everything Brandon said, can get there? Absolutely. Because this guy's 7'5". He can dribble. He can handle. Did that video where he shot the three, missed the three, and went and caught it on his own? I saw that, and I was like, I don't need to say nothing. Now, are there concerns about his
talent? I still question the competition on that. Like 24-hour fitness hoop competition.
Oh, nah, don't do that. Don't disrespect the French league.
The nice dude, you playing against them nice dudes that be nice at the 24-hour fitness. You be like, yo, where you play at? Oh, overseas in Turkey. Like, all right. That's who he looks like playing against.
I listen. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine in the league. I think he's ready for the league. I think he'll be fine. I'm not going to.
He's got the right coach, right? He's got the right coach in the right place to land.
Let's not disrespect the French league out there. It's a little better than that. It's not 24-hour fitness, but I understand.
We've seen Pop with foreign players. We've seen how well he is developing those guys.
That is true.
All right.
LA fitness.
All right, guys, let's wrap it all up. Last topic. Aaron Rodgers. He was at a conference in Denver talking about psychedelics, and he said that 100, maybe even more than 100 players, NFL players, have reached out to him about the use of psychedelics. And there's been some talk from Rodgers saying that he believes that psychedelics should be legalized and that they help unlock those other parts of the brain that you in your mind. Gotta ask you guys, feel like psychedelics? Have you guys had any experience with it? Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, we're trying to get us HR watching right now.
Not right now. Not right now. In your past.
Like,
before New York Post. Before New York Post. Before New York Post.
So look at your eyes right now. This feels like a trap. This feels like a trap from Ryan right here.
Why you think it's a trap?
No, I'm joking.
I thought you. Oh yeah. I'm talking about Aaron. Yeah.
No, but no, I do not have any experience with psychedelics. I do have a question though.
Yeah.
Why would? Okay, I know that Aaron Rodgers. He's with the ayahuasca. He's done his darkness retreats. Why are we listening to Aaron Rodgers on any of this? Why? Why are we listening to Aaron Rodgers on any of this? Like, I want to know these players, these 100 players that are like, oh, hey, Aaron Rodgers. Can you tell me about something? Man, I don't trust Aaron Rodgers on anything around health. I'm gonna keep it as that. I don't trust him on anything with that. Yes.
So you gonna listen to Pfizer? You gonna listen to Moderna? Like, bro, this is all.
Wait. Well, I'm not talking about the drug companies. I'm gonna talk to people who actually study
He's just
this,
talking
not
about the
Aaron Rodgers.
expertise of an NFL
Expertise
quarterback. He
of an
doesn't know if
NFL
he trusts
quarterback.
that. That's fair. That's fair.
He did the darkness retreat. What other type of expertise you need? He said
That's expertise because he went into a room and turned off the lights.
If he would, so if he did a YouTube review about it, would you be like, yeah, I'm subscribing to that channel?
No, because he's Aaron Rodgers.
I think we're seeing the current way society is run right now between all three of us right now. This
showing your age, because y'all probably were the same ones that gave Ricky Williams stuff when he was smoking weed playing in the league, and everybody was jumping on him. Now look, every time something is taboo at the time, people jump on that athlete, and years later, Ricky Williams, my former teammate, looks like a genius with the marijuana because of he was a pioneer back in the day.
I'm not saying that I don't care if anybody uses the ayahuasca. I'm not judging them in any kind of way. I'm just saying, why are we trusting Aaron Rodgers on this? That's all I'm saying.
Because he's that figure. He's the New York Jets quarterback now, and he's the arguably the biggest face in the NFL right now. Now Tom Brady's retired, and you have Patrick Mahomes obviously too. But I think a lot of people are they're drawn to him. That this is who he is. This is what he's always been. He's been that guy. I don't know. I think there's psychedelics are one thing. The marijuana thing, I think, is a different thing, because I think there is truth behind the pain management that a lot of these NFL players go with. And I think marijuana is clearly a better way to treat the pain, and it's a safer way, and it's actually a healthier way for your body to treat that, the recovery and pain that these players go through. And I wish the NFL was a little bit more progressive in allowing that and having these guys have that autonomy. But it's an interesting conversation. Like you guys said, psychedelics are way out of my league. I don't know anything about them.
Yeah, I don't know. And if Aaron Rodgers, if he is informed about this, right, and from what I read and known about people taking psychedelics, just to be very clear here, if he is telling people like safe ways to do it, and it's good to clear their mind, from what I've heard from people saying, et cetera, and all that stuff, especially with all the trauma that we see football players go through, which I think sometimes, if we're going to be serious about this, right, sometimes gets devalued. And I don't have to tell Brandon about this, because I think sometimes we don't talk enough about that. You talked about the use of marijuana and how it can help people. Maybe we are just on the forefront in all seriousness about talking about psychedelics, and maybe that can help a lot of football players. I mean, we should be doing a better job of caring for football players who have such a short career and put their bodies on the line, and we don't talk enough about that. So if there's anything that could help them, I do think that's a good thing. I do think we should look into that safely and have better discussions. And if Aaron Rodgers is going to lead that and talk with other experts about it, then I'm cool with that. But my only pushback on Aaron Rodgers, if you're going to come out here and just say, because you did it a couple times and you went to a dark room, that we're supposed to take you as the expert, that's when I'm like, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
You talking like the man's like wacky tacky or something, man. This dude, this is a dude who has guest co-hosted on Jeopardy. He's no idiot. Like, before he comes out and is going to speak on something, he has the means and the access to the top doctors or to the top people in that field when it comes to a psychedelic. So if he's going to come out and say something, he's probably going to have one of them on the panel with him. He's probably going to direct, he'll tell the athlete within his own experience, hey, I was hurting here. Hey, X, Y, Z was happening with my body. And then I got in touch. And then I was talking to this mentor. Again, it's just like, and then if he just goes out and balls out, it's going to be something that's, in the words of Kanye, whatever I want to do. Gosh, it's cool now. It's
right.
Just
I think what Brandon's trying to say there too, Dex, is that, he won 2 MVPs. Probably, we don't know obviously on the use of psychedelics, but clearly it's helped him to unlock that other form of his, and maybe he thinks it's going to extend his playing career. It's reached new levels for him mentally approaching the game. I don't know. And those are things he's probably having those discussions with other NFL players that clearly have reached out to him, and they're curious and they're like, hey, how are you using these? Are you using this as pain management? Are you using this as recovery? Are you using this to unlock different ways you view the game mentally? Because the quarterback position obviously is all mental, and that's how they play the game. They're modern gladiators, like you said. So they're probably curious, like just like him, like asking him questions of like, how you're using this, like why are you using this? Is this unlocking other things that maybe I should be asking myself? So
I hear all that. I think my only thing with Aaron Rodgers, where I'm a little bit like curious with him, is just like, and Brandon said, if he had a panel, he'd have the top doctors, but he didn't seem to do that when it came to vaccine for COVID-19, right? So like that's where I'm kind of like, you kind of stayed away from there. I don't know if you really trust these experts as you might say you do. That's my only pushback to him on that. Like I'm not
totally
really
fair.
Sure.
Totally I trust the expert just as much as I trust Fauci. So,
and with that, we're gonna wrap up the post up, guys. Thank you so much. Dexter, good first episode. Can we count on you to come back?
Yeah, we back. We'll do it again next week, man. I gotta fun. I can see what Brandon's gonna say about the hottest topics next week. I'm always here for that. Always.
All right, guys. This is always fun. Appreciate you as always.